Nice fish. Hi guys, Zeno Hromin back with another installment of Fishing the Lures. Today we will discuss bucktails, tins, and shads. I'm going to put this all together. And the strange part about this talk is that you would assume with the three lures being discussed at the same time, this will be the longest one, but I am pretty sure this is going to be the shortest one. I am going to send you on some other places to look for better information than mine. Meaning, I'm not saying that I don't know what I'm doing, but I gotta say, I fish bucktails now most of the time, but there's some people whose skills are just way above mine, and their videos are so much better than anything I could show you in a sense. And you know what I'm talking about. You're talking about John Skinner or Ralph Boda when it comes to using tins. John's obviously a columnist for Surfcaster Journal. He writes every other month. It's the publication that we put together. Just Google John Skinner, or click on his channel right now. We have a link here for you, and please explore it. He's got a lot of information on bucktails. Primarily, I mean, other stuff, but his underwater footage and all the stuff that he does is quite awesome. I mean, it really is. I have a lot of respect for John. So basically, I am fishing bucktails these days a lot. I am probably the first plug that comes out of my bag. I fish jetties a lot, and I fish the rocky areas, and for whatever reason, I like my bucktails. I like them in whitewater a lot. I'm not, there's different kind of jetty guys. I mean, there's different kind of bucktail guys. There's inlet guys, there's jetty bucktails, there's a bridge bucktails, there's a Montauk bucktails, there's a back bay buck. It's a whole different, I mean, it's the same approach in some ways, and we're all throwing the same stuff, but boy, the sizes are different, the thickness of the hair is different, the slope of the head is different. So there is quite a bit of a difference between approaches. To me, to start, fishing a bucktail bare, it's just, I don't do it. I know some people do it, and I know some people add like feathers instead of it. I need a trailer. In most cases, it'll be like red and white split tail by Uncle Josh. Well, Uncle Josh is not making anymore, so it's either Fat Cow makes jig strips, or it's the otter tail, one or the other. The beauty of the trailers, they're the same as this, obviously. The beauty of their trailers is they're not made out of pork skins, so you don't have to worry about this stuff drying out, because all of us have done it. We fished all night, and in the morning we went to clean our stuff because we were tired, we didn't look, and then we came from work, and the next day, and this stuff is crumble up on a hook like a piece of lard that lost all its elasticity, and you can throw it away. I mean, you literally got to cut it, and it wasn't cheap either. Okay, it wasn't cheap. So I'm glad that somebody picked up this stuff and they came up with better solutions for this. Fishing a bucktail, it is a science. I mean, John's book, Fishing the Bucktail, it should be must read if you want to fish the surf. I can't explain to you in such a short time what bucktails fishing really is. And the other problem is that I feel that because bucktails they don't have any lip or any kind of slope or any concave to give you the action, you and you alone are the master of your own domain, as Seinfeld would say. Okay, so you don't get a benefit of just casting it out and being like, although having said that, Doc Muller always said just cast it straight out and don't go crazy over it. Just get the right size and get it in right condition, right part of the way, which all obviously comes all together when you're fishing. You got to know all this kind of stuff. But so let me simplify this by going with retrieve. My retrieve is the same retrieve that I have for needlefish, okay? For whatever reason, it's either OCD or whatever it is, I can't seem to retrieve needlefish or bucktails or tin or shad straight. Oh, there's more to my disease than I thought of, I guess. I just realized that. So my retrieve is the same for all these plugs. I cast it up current, I picked up the slack, and I'm twitching and reeling, twitching like this, not exaggerated motion with my rod, and not every crank. 2, 3 cranks twitch, 2, 3 cranks twitch, 2, 3 cranks. And I do the same thing with a 7-foot rod. Sometimes I fish a bass style and I just go twitch, twitch, reel, twitch, twitch. You know, if the bucktails are small enough, like a half an ounce, I use a lot of this stuff, 3/8, half an ounce for weak fish. For smaller bass in the inlet off the rocks, I like to use a smaller rod. That's just the way I like to fish. The key to bucktails, to me, is finding the proper size. That is almost 90%. I mean, matching the trailer. Look, I'm gonna fish the white bucktail with a red and white trailer 99% of the time. Day, night, full moon, new moon, 50 feet of water, 3 feet of water, 1 foot of water, whatever. I'm gonna fish the same, more or less, color-wise. So to me, that is not a problem. The brands, you know, we all fish Andrews years ago. Now you guys. If there's one area of growth in the Surfcasters and bucktails, if you go to a show, oh my God, there's so many people making good bucktails. So you don't have a problem with that anymore, okay? Andrews is not, it's not the only people that you can get quality bucktails from. I like set hooks. I don't use swing hooks that much. I don't know why, I just don't. So to me, the key to finding, to use the bucktail properly is to find the right size, the right weight, okay? They're more or less all the same. I mean, there's some gigantic bucktails, but for most part, you know, if you use a 3/8 of an ounce and a 3 ounce, you know, the size is not that much different, you know, a half an inch. So I wouldn't get hung up on that. The key is to cast this up current and then retrieve it based on the conditions that you're fishing with. Now, there's places like in rough water and in a high wind situation where you want a bucktail to be as hairy as possible to sink at a lower rate, but being able to use more weight to deliver a payload into the wind. Then there's places in the inlet where you want a sparsely tied bucktails, but you want it to sink because the current's so fast, you don't want it to sink slowly. You want to cast the least amount of current so you can start working it because of other people fishing in the lineup. So all these things I can't possibly explain to you on a video. I couldn't even explain to you if I went on the inlet and did it because probably would get a beating. But you just couldn't. So you kind of got to figure this thing out on your own. Proper size to be as close as possible to the bottom without hitting the bottom. That's usually the inlet technique, okay? If you're fishing, you wouldn't think about fishing these things in the rocky areas because you say, like, I'm going to get snagged, I'm going to lose a lot of bucktails. But when you go to Montauk, Cuttyhunk, well, we do it at Cuttyhunk. Guys don't do it, we do it. But when you go to a place like Montauk, and it's just nothing but rock and kelp, and the most productive lure is bucktail, and everybody throws it, and you go like, maybe I'm not correct in my thinking. And you're not. You're really not. It's just, again, you have to pick the right size. You have to get the line on the roller before it hits the water or as it hits the water, and you got to start retrieving it immediately. This is where the bail-less thing is better than bail. Now you might think, oh, if I just close the bail, well, I got an issue to pick with that. I mean, I'm really not going to agree with that, but I'm not going to have that argument right now because I feel like if you know what you're doing after a few years, a few months, a few days, when you cast that bucktail, your line is waiting, and as long as you know what it is, it's automatic. It's like having a bail. Your finger becomes a bail, okay? I can't explain to you. Here, watch this video, and you'll see how easy it is. It's really not that difficult. So my point is, find the right size of a bucktail is the key to working it properly and using it. Is there anywhere where I wouldn't use a bucktail? No. Is there any conditions? No. Is there any bait? No. You see where I'm going with this. Bucktails will catch anything. It will catch everything. It will catch anywhere and everywhere. And, you know, from what I understand, Navy SEALs were given the bucktails in their survival kit because it was a catch-all lure. So, in my opinion, I caught lure everywhere from here to Florida to Mexico to you name it. I caught it. Europe. Wine red I like, not as much as white. I use a lot of these lime kind of chartreuse in a stained water. That's always been the key for us, to use in the stained water, a little bit on the yellowish side, chartreuse. A lot of pink I'll use when I'm targeting weak fish because they feed on baby squid a lot. So I use a lot of pink. It's a confidence thing. I explained this to you before. It's a big confidence thing. Surf fishing is huge confidence thing, okay? It's not like a boat thing. It's a whole other story. In general terms, and this goes to all these lures, I'll use the tactical angler clips on just about anything on all my lures. I'm not going to tie it directly. I know some guys do, some guys don't. I don't care for it. I will put my clip on. I will take my clip off. I will do it with my eyes closed. Oh, I missed it. Yeah, there it is. Put it on, take it off. I mean, it's really easy. You can do it at night without the light. It doesn't impart the action of a bucktail, in my opinion. You know, and you'll go from sizes anywhere from 3/8 to 3/4 ounces, depends on the current. Listen, like I said, visit John's YouTube channel, and if you're not a fan, and I'm sure that you are, because he's got, you know, tons of subscribers, so you know you've probably seen his stuff, and it's better than mine. But at least the explanation is better than mine. Shads. Well, let's go to tins, because the tins are kind of an extension of a bucktail. Tins are, you know, bucktails are used when the sand deals are around, but the tins really do shine when sand deals are around. They imitate the profile very well. They also imitate the profile of other baits like spearing. If the fish are on a rain bait, that's an actual, you know, it's a great bait to use. If you go to the tropics, boy, these things just crank as madly as you can. I mean, it will kill it. You know, it doesn't matter which tin it is, it seems that way. And there's so many on the market. And now you get guys like the Jetty Ghost making these beautiful little tins that look like a baby bay anchovies. So the key to me is retrieving it straight. I do twitch it a little bit. Most of the guys do it straight. I know Ralph, I'm going to give you a link right now to his video right here. I mean, he has a half an hour. I did a half an hour video with him. He'll tell you he's a maker of Charlie Grave lures under West End Tackle. You know, they have a huge selection, and nobody's probably more knowledgeable than he is. So my thing is, I like them with teasers. I don't use teasers a lot, but I find them a good delivery vehicle for teasers. I'd like to retrieve them straight. When sand deals are around, I like to hit the bottom once in a while. I like when they puff off the bottom like the sand deals do. I like to use them when albies are on the bay anchovies and a small bait. You got to crank them fast. I mean, it helps to have a faster retrieve on your reel. That really does help. The wide angle, the wide ones, when a wide bait is around, I'm not sold on it. The black ones at night, I'm not sold on that either. And not because they don't work, because I feel like I have better options, okay? Where when the sand deals are around, you know what, it's hard to find a better option, especially if the fish are holding outside. You're not gonna reach them with a bucktail. Needlefish sometimes can't get out there. And you know what, this can. If the albies are on the top and they are in a distance, well, if you throw bucktails, you probably can't reach them. Needlefish was probably too big, and this kind of thing is perfect. So, you know, that's how I see it. Do I use them a lot? As much as bucktails? No, I don't use them. I don't use them nearly as close. However, having said that, you know, these tins have been around probably as long or longer than any lures that we use. The old tin made out of tin and shined with the sand have been around forever. And there's a reason for that. You know, not only because they didn't know how to make the lures, but they catch any fish everywhere, anywhere. So I would, you know, definitely encourage you to get familiar at least with your tins, because they do catch a lot of fish. Trailers are necessary. I generally like the bucktail hook on the back. I don't like them with a bare hook. Tubes, very important at times. You know, the guys that's got a green tube on the back of the lure catches all the fish. It does happen quite often, actually. Red or green or whatever works that day. Shads, I find that I throw them same place where I throw bucktails a lot. Okay, when a fish are on the bigger bait, when there's a lot of peanut bunker present, when I want to present a different profile, a little bit of a slower retrieve, I go with a shad. in general sense, it doesn't need, you don't need to twitch it. They have this paddle tail, and this paddle tail will give all the action. You'll feel a little bit of a vibration as you're retrieving it on a straight retrieve. You don't need to jig it. I just do a little bit of a twitch because, like I said, I have the OCD. So it is what it is. You know, these storm things tend to, in a way, work better. Like almost they feel better underwater, but the hook is so weak. This thin hook is so weak that I prefer the stronger hook from the Tsunami. They have, whatever, this is a big ass hook right here, okay? So I'm not dropping a lot of fish. They have a different styles too. This is like a wide body, heavy shad. Then they have the, I think this is like 3 ounce standard one. It's a little narrower, a little longer than Storm. They also have these gigantic ones, which are great when a current actually slows down, when blackfish come out of the rocks in the middle of the slack tide, when the sea robins and all the other stuff around the jetties tend to move positions for the current. They work really great. Just retrieve them straight. You do need a rod big enough to handle this, so be careful. You don't want to go with a 9-foot light action rod. You're going to snap your rod throwing this. This is 6 ounces or so. Use them in every place they use bucktail. They do work well in rocks. The way they're designed, they'll stay like this, so they'll bounce off the rocks like this, so you don't have to, you're not going to get snagged a lot the way they're designed. I love them. I mean, from small ones in the spring to the bigger ones in the fall, I use them quite a bit. Again, if I got a choice between all three, bucktails always be my #1 choice. Keep in mind one thing, that there is a bucktails, if you're completely new to the fishing, okay, what you don't want is, like, look at this thing, okay? So you have a tie here and a tie here. This tie here is not for you. This is for the boat guy. This is for the Surfcaster, okay? You want to retrieve this lure like this. This is from the boat, go up and down. So you're jigging it up and down. So the lure goes up and down. And this is going to be to pull it horizontal to the water. So when you're buying a bucktail, you want to look at this eye placement. You know, there's certain bucktails, like the spros, certain spros are better used for fluke off the top, because where the tie-in. So, you know, the surf bucktails are generally will have a tie-in closer to the face, is my point, instead of in the center if it's like a long bucktail. So that's one thing to consider. Not much more. I mean, there's rip splitter style. There is, you know, I don't know, bullet styles, lima bean styles. There's all kinds of styles. I kind of like the, whatever this is, rip splitter with a little bit of a mouth over here. They used to call it smiling bill. It used to be my favorite. Or just a regular bullet like this. And not the bullet that you might think that's a longer one. I don't even know what the style this is. I just, you know, this is an Andrews bucktail. This is what I use, either rip splinter or that. I do use a lot of little tiny little lima beans type for the weak fish, but these are like 3/8 of an ounce and a half an ounce. Really, really small stuff with a ultralight reel and rod. So that's basically what it is. Pork rinds, always, trailer of some kind, tins. By all means, use them, especially when there's tin baits are around. I don't find them as productive when tin baits are not around. I just don't use them as much. Maybe that's not. Shads, I'll mix and match with bucktails. You know, I like to have few in my bags at all times. They do tend to produce for me. And sometimes when bucktails are not productive, the shad picks up the slack for whatever reason. So, all right, so that's some of the stuff on these lures. If you like what we do, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit the Surfcaster's Journal website, where we have a magazine store. You can get the information about our magazine and all our writers and what we do. As always, thank you for watching, and see you at the beach.